Buenos dias, folks. I do not have enough hours in the day. Stuff I've got a scooter on there trying to change the wheel into the stones, the lawn, it's just impossible. I can't answer all of the comments, but I do sift through, and every now and again there is a key comment. The tides. I'm not saying, the highest tides on the planet are up here. Okay? The highest tides on the planet up here. Somebody says the reason for the high tides up near Canada and the Bay of Fundy, etc., it's because of topographical currents and funnel effect and just all of this stuff. You either made that up or somebody else told you and you believed it. Because it's wrong. It is wrong, okay? Let me show you why it's wrong. All you've done for me is a couple of things are happening. You just cannot accept this. It's going to be wrong for whatever reason. Whether you're a teacher, something invested in it, whether you believed it all of your life, or you're just learning it now. And you think I'm talking rubbish. Well, I'm not. Slam dunk, the moon has nothing to do with the tides. You reckon that the reason for the tides in Canada being so high, topographical currents and a funnel effect. No. All that means is you do not understand the physics of a solar eclipse, what they're telling us. Look, this is what gets me, right? Now, let's use this one. A solar eclipse. This is the basics that everybody should understand, okay? Let me just put this on a chair so I've got two hands. Right. Now, we have, let's put this angle. Right. We all know what is being said. The moon is pulling on the tides, okay? Now that's a good angle actually. Because we're slightly, we're probably at about 23.5 degree angle, okay? We spin anti-clockwise on our axis. This is what they tell us, right? The equator, the moon is up in through you guys, out the back, 30 diameters of this away from us. These are the facts. If we spin anti-clockwise on our axis, however slow or fast it is, and there is a foreign body pulling at our water on this planet, it is going to be a case of us not moving into the body of water, but the high tides will come this way, won't they? If there is something pulling on that water and we're turning, you would think that this side of Australia would move into the tide, the high tide, more than this side, because the water would be kind of all built up here. It would be a case of breaking through. That's the kind of impression that they give us. But listen, when you say Canada and the funnel effect and this and that and the other, and that is why the highest tides are up here, all you're doing is demonstrating that you do not understand what is being said. You might not want to accept what I'm saying, but you're obviously not understanding the basics. Now, we have Nova Scotia, right? And then we have the Ungava Bay right there, okay? Now, again, we're turning this way, right? If we're turning this way, what on earth has a funnel effect got to do with Cook Inlet? Why is that one of the highest tides on the planet? We're moving like that, right? The moon is pulling down there. So the current that is up here, if it's true, it should all be kind of thinned out. The bulge. What is it that is making that water rush into there? We're not turning into, the mouth of that inlet is not turning into a bulging tide, right? The same as with Bristol. There you go, you can see it better on this one. Bristol Channel, see? That's it there. Now, we're not turning into water. We're turning away from it. Now, this is a big deal. It's the actual basic physics of what they're telling us, isn't it? It's the basic physics of what they're telling us. It's how it works. Now, again, I don't care what anybody else says. You come up with these reasons. All you're doing for me is you either just don't want to accept it and you're just making stuff up. People do that. People will just make stuff up. They're so convinced that they're right that they'll make stuff up just to prove their point. But every time somebody does that, I can see right through it. I pay attention to the details. What you said makes no sense. There's no funnel effect or anything going on. You just, for some reason, are trying to find reasons why it isn't so. Maybe you haven't even properly listened to what I've said. So you're just skimming through my stuff. You see me say something about the moon. That's wrong, and the tides can't be right. Blah, 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 blah. It means you are not listening. If you listen to what I've already said, if you listen properly to my post, you'll see that by using logic and common sense, I've used common sense and logic all the way through. So the science is wrong. It's not science, it's a lie. Now here's the other thing. For those fishermen and fisher ladies out there, you've been on a boat in a tinny on a river out in the ocean. This is stuff I've been thinking about. This is why I don't get anything else done. When this place down at Elliot Heads, if you're in a river mouth, right? If the planet was moving here, so I'm here, east coast of Australia. So high tides, doesn't matter where, if bulge, look, it's kind of everything, right? But I've been in rivers facing that way, facing east, and when the tide comes in, right, this is the thing, if you're anchored, if you don't put the anchor in, you're just swept up the freaking river, right? You couldn't swim in it. These are rivers that you would not be able to swim against the current, not even for 10 meters when they're going hard, when it's a proper 2 high something meter tide, right? But here's the thing, it gets to the top and it rushes out just the same. Is that logical? If it was the moon and the high tide, it gets and then it moves over the other side and it releases, it wouldn't rush like it does, but it rushes. I honestly, listen, this is worked out using logic and common sense. I'm going to go one step further today. I am not saying I know how this water is moving. It's definitely not the moon, slam dunk. That is a fact, right? But on further thinking, it's almost as if it's water displacement, right? It's water displacement because the high tide, when it comes in, it's fast and furious. And when it goes out, it's exactly the same. It's not a tidal force, something that's pulling at the water, because it might come in violently, but after the moon hump, it would trickle. It's not like all of the momentum of the water catches up on itself and it all rushes back as soon as the moon's gone. This stuff, this water, some rivers, those of you who fish will know, it comes in, you fish the incoming tide. If it's too much of a tide, you can't even fish it because the sinkers aren't heavy enough and it's just impossible. But gets to the top of the tide and then it's the same. Like, it doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. It's a common sense thing. It's not a gravitational pull. It's almost like a water displacement. That, listen, it's coming up and it's draining again. It sounds insane. It makes more sense than believing that the moon is doing what they say it's doing, because it isn't. It is not. It doesn't make sense for an inlet facing west to be getting this, one of the highest high tides on the planet, especially when it's so far north. It doesn't make any sense. And these places here, it's almost as if somewhere, somebody's pumping water into the top, and it's, I am not joking. It isn't the moon. It isn't logical. It can't. It would move the other smaller bodies of water on this planet. There are lakes that have like a beach feel about them. Of course, it would pull a bit of water gradually up a slope where people, that is the insult to people's intelligence. That could be something where people go, yeah, we'll prove it. I don't need to prove it. It's common sense. If it's dragging the oceans, it's going to drag water on some of the larger of the smaller water bodies. It's illogical to think it's not. But they do not shift. They do not shift. Again, I grew up in Spain, the Mediterranean Sea, right? Now, we are spinning this way, aren't we? Right, there's the Mediterranean Sea, that's the Straits of Gibraltar. I grew up on that island there, Mallorca, Spain. There's Italy, and. Now, we are turning that way, right? There is no tide. This is the Straits of Gibraltar. If it was the moon, right, if we were moving this way into it, this right here, nobody would be able to get in and out. But it's going this way. The tides in the Mediterranean are non-existent. There isn't much of a tide. It spans from Portugal, Spain, France, Italy, you've got Germany up there, Yugoslavia, goes all the way down, and you've got Egypt, Libya. It's a sea. You're telling me that the moon is not going to shift that? This is it. Common sense. It's a lack of. It's a non-existent tide, right? Barely notice it. If the water was something, water displacement or something, it was pumping into the ocean and then receding, that would make perfect sense here. Because it's not a pull of the water, it's a displacement. And that channel, it's so tiny, and because it's not a pull, if it's here in the Atlantic, it's not going to go, is it? It's slowly, if it's filled up at the top, and something stops pumping water into the north of the planet, Argentina, one of the highest tides, if water runs down, there is going to be a high tide, depending, is it a plug? Look, I am not saying that I know how the water is moving, folks, but it is not the moon. It's not, it's impossible. It doesn't make sense for all of these reasons, right? It's pure logic and common sense. Hang on. It doesn't make sense. It isn't the moon. It is not the moon. We can only work with the facts that we have, the facts that they've given us, right? I have fished. I fished in Florida. I fished in Spain. I fished here. Boats. I've seen the currents. I've been in currents on this planet where you're ripping on, for fun, you're ripping onto the sand and it's pulling you. Now that is with an incoming and an outgoing tide. It's almost as if somebody's gone, and then, what do you want me to say? It is more logical to think that somebody is pumping water into the oceans in the north of the planet, and then it is somehow draining somewhere, than it is to think the moon is affecting the tide. It's more logical to think of water displacement. Water displacement. Water displacement. You put something in water, and whatever mass you put in, that water has to move somewhere, right? You cannot compress it. It's a solid, right? But NASA reckons they found a way to compress water. This was years ago. It was one of these little articles that's been fed in, and it will be brought out later on to say, this is how we get water to Mars, because we've learned how to rubbish you have. That's little things I remember. They rewrite history. That's in there. A decade ago or so, I saw it somewhere. You'd think that would be a massive deal, but it was just left. It is more logical to think that there's some kind of water displacement happening on this planet than it is to believe it is some kind of gravitational force acting on the waters. But water, the tides, it's happening from something on this planet. Slam dunk. It is not the moon. Right? I slam dunk that, knowing that it could be something else. Right? I'm slam dunking it's not the moon, and I slam dunk. It's something. It is something on this planet that is creating those massive tides up north, and it has to be around here because the high tides. It's going into the Bristol Channel. That means it's something that's happening up here. It's happening in Ungava Bay. The mouth of that bay, this is the weird thing, it faces north, right? These are the things that people should be able to work out. You know how water works, right? Pressure, no. Right, so here we have the Bay of Fundy, right? It is, where is it? It's right in there. Now, it obviously faces in, doesn't it? Or like that. So you'd think that the pressure we'd have to be going quite fast for that water to flow in, okay? Now, here we are. This is Ungava Bay. Look, it's in, look how protected it is from around all of the sides. Look, how on earth is in there? This is it here, right? How on earth is that much water getting all the way in here through the rocks and doing up there and then back down to create the second biggest tide on this planet? Right in there, right? It's not logical, especially if we're supposed to be turning like that, right? You can understand that water could come in there, psh, and then go psh, but what about here? There's not even any open ocean in the side near the Cook Inlet. It's all land. And that is the way we're spinning. So how is all of this water, this high tide going shh? How? It's almost as if somewhere underneath, right? Something's happening here underneath it's lifting and it's causing that tide. Look, here. It is not logical to think that a tide is going to creep all the way into there if it is the moon pulling at the water. It isn't logical. And if it's happening there, why on earth is it not happening here? Why? Why is no tide, just nothing, right? You cannot even hardly notice any tide in the whole of the Mediterranean Sea, right? So why is it happening there? This thing is protected. Water's not going to gush in at high tide and because of any pull. These are the common sense things. These are the things that come before the science. These are the things that prove 100% that they're lying. It's the same with all of it. The science. I well and truly know that I'm stepping on some serious toes. And if one day you're waiting for my posts and I don't come back, and I've disappeared and nobody knows where I've gone, Jesus, it wouldn't surprise me, guys, because I am stepping on the toes of people who have invested time into this brain mush like relativity. It's all the same thing. These YouTube posts, crap that they talk, but you've been told that common sense is not important, so you believe the rubbish, and then you can't come back from it. That hasn't happened to me, and I can see the rubbish, but I also understand I'm stepping on toes. What's a guy to do? This is bigger than one person. That's what I'm saying to my son. Loads of time that we don't get to spend together. I explained to him, son, this stuff is bigger than one person. How can I not do what I'm doing? I was just about to say, the actual entire human race, humanity itself, is under attack. And its absurdities, and they can easily be proven. They have gotten hold of education systems, and the thing that's dangerous about what I'm doing, dangerous to them, not to me, is it's just common sense knowledge that supersedes the science. The knowledge that I think is just common sense, it trashes the science. Speed of light, the eclipse, there's no delay, it's absolute light, whether it be 150 million kilometers away or just behind the moon. I don't know. Don't forget, folks, this flat, round, my entire life, I am the most unreligious person you will ever meet. Don't believe in any of it, right? And here I am, at my age, dancing with the firmament, with a flat earth, with gravity. It's not the moon that is moving the tides. Goosebumps. I find myself not out of my depth. I'll never be out of my depth. I find myself doing something that I never thought I would be doing. And when I look back on my life, it makes sense because of the absolute obstacle course that I've had to get here. So, those comments about a funnel effect up in Canada, and that is why the tides, no mate, listen, all you're doing is you're telling me that you didn't listen to my stuff properly, and that you may have something invested in it. You don't like the fact that the moon now may not have gravity, and you just will say anything. But it's just hit a brick wall, because even you should understand the basics, the logic, the common sense, how simple it is, the stuff. And then the science tries and comes along and it gives reasons why there is a delay, a light delay, photons and loads of big words and hypothetical, theoretical garbage. Got stuff to do. It's more logical to think there is either some kind of water displacement happening, not a solid object, or there is this pumping and draining. It's more logical because it isn't the moon. Can you see where I'm at? What a fantastic time to be alive. It's awesome. Please be under 30. 26:08. Right, I could go on. I'll leave it there. I will be back. All right, folks, have a great day. Stay frosty out there. Remember, think for yourself. That is their biggest fear. Laters.